it's almost such a norm now. We've accepted that it's okay to be distracted. It's not. That's why sport's so important, I think, for children and development. And any sport, it doesn't have to be football, because learning to deal with defeat is as important as how you carry yourself when you win. Talent gets you to a certain part of your career. After that, it's just all mentality. We can educate kids and teach kids to be okay with losing, and as long as you're resilient and keep going. Even if at 18 they decide they don't want to play soccer anymore, certainly not as a career, any walk of life they go into, they're going to take those lessons with them, right? And still have a passion for soccer, hopefully. One piece that I would give advice to coaches for is...
Hello coaches, welcome back to another Modern Soccer Coach interview. This week we are joined by Ciarán McArdle, author of The Soccer of Success, How the Beautiful Game Can Help You Achieve Goals in Business and in Life. We've also got a free copy to give away today for a competition. I've known Kieran for a few years. He was actually my boss whenever I worked a soccer camp in the US in 1999, showing me age there. One of the funniest people. He's gone on to do some unbelievable things in football. Co-founder of Excel Soccer World, co-founder of Excel Soccer Tours, and now 5 years ago has launched Excel Academy, and that's where I went down in Orlando. I went down to visit him and speak about the new book, the connections between football and business. We haven't done a business episode. There's no better person than Ciarán McArdle, Orlando Business Journal CEO of the Year in 2016. We're going to talk about his new book. We're going to talk about his experiences in the game. We're going to talk about investment in the US as well and the impact on the game over here. A lot of great topics. If you would like a copy of the book, all you got to do to enter in the comments below is to write where in the world you are watching this interview from in the comments below, and I will pick out a winner. I'm halfway through the book. I love it. I think you will too. Please enter. Please also like. Please subscribe. Here we go. Soccer of Success. Ciarán McArdle. Let's go. Kieran, thanks so much for joining me.
Great to see you again, Gary.
Oh, brilliant to catch up. I just got the tour there. What an amazing place. The book, of course. We're going to talk about this. The Soccer of Success. Might give away actually a free, cheeky free copy.
Why not? Signed?
Signed one would
there
be good.
There you go. It'll add $1 of value.
So we've got a lot to get through. Leadership, football business. We haven't really done a football business podcast episode. And I am fascinated by football business and the space of America today, and investment and the emphasis on football business. I want to get your take on that there as well, because you were in there early.
Yeah, I was one of the few, certainly English people in America, to admit I wasn't good enough to be a professional. So, not even close. But I love the game, right?
Yeah.
And so I knew I wanted to work in football. And so that's when I decided to get into coaching first, and then after the coaching, me and Chris started Excel Travel, and then that has progressed. And we started our indoor soccer centre business, Excel Soccer World, which we then sold last April to a company called So5, which are majority owned by City Football Group, which has been amazing. And then in 2020, we started Excel Academy, which is our full-time school for soccer players. So they come to us, they get educated by in-person learning with teachers, amazing teachers, and they get train every day with ex-professional footballers, lads who played in the Premier League and played internationally. So it really is just an amazing school.
I want to start on your personal journey, because I remember, obviously, we were just laughing before we started recording with 1999, the summer. That's when I met you. But the traditional pathway of coaching business used to be probably college coaching or camp businesses. Before MLS was kind of in its infancy, there wasn't a lot of football businesses in America. Why did you, or where was your pathway changing from kind of not so much coaching, but going into more business element, leadership focus?
I was fascinated about business. I don't know why. I mean, went to the University of York, and my degree was electronic engineering. I'm a closet nerd, yeah. And I did my master's was in avionics.
I don't even know what that is.
The electronic systems in planes and helicopters.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So I kind of, after my first summer in America coaching, I knew that I didn't want to be in avionics. Yeah. And so I remember I read Richard Branson's book, his first autobiography. And reading that and seeing his journey about it almost gave me a sense of what if, right? You know, I mean, back home growing up, business people were these higher echelon people that you had no chance of getting there, and read his book and I was like, wow, he came from nothing and started at 16 and created a business. Right, I know what an entrepreneur is now. I'm going to give this a go, and started the business from scratch, and just fell in love with the business part of it.
Where did you see when you were at that? And again, go to Excel Travels. When did you start Excel Travels?
2002. So we have a great history
Yeah.
of starting businesses at a terrible time.
Terrible time.
So we had this plan. We're going to start in 2002, September 11th, 2001.
Yeah.
So January of 2002 was not a great time to start a business for international travel, right? Yeah, it was, but it didn't matter to us. We kept going, and it's one of business lessons we've seen around the world is keep going, tenacity, which the game teaches us, perseverance, courage. You keep going. If you have something in your mind that you want to achieve it no matter what, nothing will stop you. And so we kept going, and that business still exists today.
I was talking to you before about I went to school for business, learned very little applied knowledge, but like went to school with a passion about. I remember Boiler Room. Do you remember the movie?
Yeah,
Boiler Room?
I love that.
And
yeah.
I thought that's what I want to do, and then realised I would be useless at that there, so sneaked into coaching. But I was always really interested in business. But then as I started coaching, I got a real inferiority complex with business. I think, oh, those guys have their stuff together, their plans and their processes, and if football could become a bit more like business, it would be a better place. Where did you have the inspiration for the book to think, actually, the business world could learn a lot from football as well?
Yeah, the inspiration, I guess, from the book is, and I started the book 6 years ago, and so because I didn't do it full time, right? And so the inspiration was I loved delivering staff training sessions at work, and because everybody who works for us is a football person, I used to deliver them through the lens of football to try and teach it better. And so as I was doing these training sessions gradually, I was like, there might be something to this, and if I can deliver these training sessions because my people understand them more because they're all football people, well, there's many more football fans, right? You don't have to be a professional player to understand and love the game. You can be a fan, right? Like we all are. And so if fans understand the game and can understand some business lessons because it's told through the lens of the game, then that would be a great idea for a book. So that's why I originally actually called it The Soccer of Business, because it was how soccer explains business. But as it developed, and through my publishers Forbes actually recommended we change it to Success, because it's not just for business, it's how to create time to be a better parent, to be a better friend, a better spouse. It's not just the business side of things, it's lessons for everybody.
You talked a little bit about before when we were chatting, you talked a little bit how in society today, at all elements, their parents, business leaders, football, business people, this phone, this attention, this pressure, it seems to be that personal development is kind of fallen by the wayside to daily pressures of life.
To daily inputs, right?
Yeah.
The cell phone. We all have one and we live by them. But I mean, I'm a closet hater of cell phones. I think it takes away focus massively from all of us, children especially. And so, how do we take that time back? Because as soon as you get an input on your phone, whether it's an email or a text, you're on someone else's time, right? And your focus is gone.
Yeah.
And so part of the book as well talks about, well, footballers don't have a phone when on the pitch. They have two 45-minute halves of no distraction. And so they don't have it, right? They're focused on the game. So can we transfer that into our lives where we have two 45-minute sessions in the morning of ultra focus with a little break in the middle? And how will that improve our lives? How will that improve us at work or even at home? And so that, I think it's almost such a norm now. We've accepted that it's okay to be distracted. It's not. We're doing this podcast now. If somebody barged up the stairs and started talking to us, we'd think that was rude, right? Yet we accept it on our devices. So can we take that time back?
Yeah. It's I see it, and actually taking it back, removing apps, putting the phone away, doing all that. I've done more of that in the last 12 months
It's great, isn't it?
It's great.
Yeah.
But God, it's hard. There's like a withdrawal period
Yeah.
to
Oh,
start.
it's designed to be like that, right?
yeah.
I have a rule where, and I'm 70% successful at it. I turn my phone off between 10 and 12, and that's when I do my 2 45-minute focused hours. So when I turn it on at 12, which sounds crazy, right? But I turn it on at 12 o'clock, guess what? The world hasn't exploded, right? Everything's fine.
Yeah.
And I say to like people who work with me and might need to get hold of me, I said, listen, this is what I do. So I'm transparent so people can work within your rules. If you need me, I've got a landline. Call the landline.
Yeah.
Do you know how many phone calls I've had on the landline in 2 or 3 years of doing this?
Under 5.
Zero.
Yeah.
Zero. So I think it's psychological as well. Like you say, oh, you could put it on silent. You can hear the buzz, right?
can't, yeah.
By turning it off, you know there is zero distraction, right? You can get in the zone, the flow zone that's been, I think it's what Csikszentmihalyi, who wrote that book about flow, who talks, and you can only get into that if you do have zero distractions.
The piece on plan, perform, recover. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean that is the ethos of the whole book,
Yeah.
right? Plan, perform, recover. I call it the hat trick of success.
Right.
See what I did
Yeah,
there?
I like that.
See
Oh,
what
I like
did there?
that. Got that.
So plan, perform, recover is everywhere around us, and it's timeless. Plan, perform, recover can be in minutes, it can be hours, it can be years. You know, you could plan your life, right? You could do an aspirational plan of your life, and this is what I want to achieve. This is what I want for my family, and then you break that down to a 3-year plan, and then an annual plan. And then for me, what I do is I have that annual plan, I then break that down into a weekly plan, right? So I plan my week across the various areas of my life, and there's worksheets that go with the book that explain this. So the plan, important, right? Because if you're just performing with no plan, you might be doing the wrong thing, right? Yeah. So we take our plan and then we perform, right? So then we get our work done. We talked about the 2 45-minute focused zones of where we're getting stuff done. That's perform, right? And then after we perform, we have to recover. We can't just go. We have to recover. And then we're back to plan. So it's a circle, right? It's not a straight line. Plan, perform, recover. And then the recovery can be minutes in between the 2 45-minute sessions where we just go for a little walk in the office, break out, or put your laptop screen down, whatever it may be, but it's a mental recovery. And then there's a longer recovery after your 2 45-minute sessions, where you have your lunch or whatever again. And then some recoveries are longer. You have a long weekend is a recovery. You go on vacation for a week is a longer recovery, right? You might have, in our school, we have 10 weeks off in the summer. It gives the students and teachers a big recovery session, but the recovery is as important of the plan and perform, and I think that's neglected a lot in the world, in life. You know, in the book, it hopefully spikes some thought into where can you be better in your life at plan, perform, recover. Where can you put it in what time cycles, in years, in multiple years and years, in today, like you planned to set this up, we planned, right, we're performing now, and then when this is finished, you'll go back to Disney and recover.
Yeah, go back to Disney, I work twice as hard.
Exactly, yeah.
The element of, again, business, football, coaching, leadership, the results, obviously results play, they probably ruin coaching, in all honesty. But then there's an element of business as well that there's always, especially in sales, you mentioned before about the travel business, about how you started every year at zero. That even makes me uncomfortable hearing that there. What advice do you have, or do you talk about that in the book, where is there parallels between those two worlds that you can take away from football? Is it setbacks or pressure?
So we have, there's a part in the book about failure.
Okay.
Right? There's a part, because there's failure everywhere. Yeah. It's how do you handle that? How do you frame that in your own mind? And you talked about results. Plan is important to that, because what is the result going to be? You know, there's a piece I talk about it that, you know, if you are Falkirk and you draw Real Madrid in the Champions League, are you going to win that game?
Yeah,
probably not, right?
Yeah.
So is it a failure if you lose? What is the expectation of that? You know, we've seen it in the FA Cup right now, where we're getting the potential giant killers, and so in football, and will know the specifics more than me. Sometimes it's not necessarily about the results. Is it And I've seen these charts in first team ground. It's like how many minutes have the academy team players played in the first team. That's a metric, right? That's a result, right? How's the injuries looking? That's a result if that's close to zero. How many points away from home are we getting, right? So it's vast rather than just did we win or lose. And that comes to the plan, because that expectation has to be at the start of the season of, you know, are we just going to stay in the Premier League, right? And so just to stay in the Premier League, you don't need to win every game. There's certain games you win, so it's super important, the planning part, so that we can actually take the metric or whatever it may be into the performance.
Hello coaches, we'll take a quick break here. Do not forget, please enter our competition this week to win a copy of Kieran's book, The Soccer of Success. Very, very easy to enter. All you've got to do is to write down in the comments below where in the world you are watching this interview right now. Where in the world are you watching it? Just put the city or put the country. Put it in the comments below and I'll pick out a winner. Thank you so much. Back to Kieran.
Moving on now to the holistic development. You hear those two words quite a lot when it comes to academics and education and football. With the school here, kind of moving the book down, expanding the reach of the book maybe, where you're looking at saying, okay, how do you think, or what are some ways that schools, teachers can implement some of this work as well?
Yeah, it is. So I'm blessed to work with amazing students and teachers every day, and I've thought about that, you know, because it's not just for coaches or adult fans, it's for students, right, and teachers. And not to flog a dead horse, but plan, perform, recover is everywhere, right, in a classroom. Teacher plans a lesson, performs, right, teaching is a performance, right, performs a lesson, and then has to recover in between it to get their mind right for the next one. So that, and I was just met with a teacher this morning to go through that so that she could plan her week to make sure she wanted to know what a big three was. Yeah. All right. She wanted to know how to put that into the week and then how to recover in between lessons and things like that. Same for students, right? So everyone wants to be a professional soccer player, right? What's the number? What's the number, right? What's that? The Dumb and Dumber. So you're saying there's a chance, 1 in a million. And so what lessons can they get from their experience as a amateur soccer player and put it into the business world? And if they are preparing their day, planning, they are turning up on time to their class, they are performing, as in they're focusing, they're listening, and then they're recovering in between it and turning them on time for the... You know, turning on time is just such a skill that is so easy to do and neglected often, right? Yeah. And so we teaching students of the importance of turning up on time. And so if we can get that plan, perform, recover mentality into our students at a young age, they can take it to college, they can take it to business, they can take it to their family lives, they can take it everywhere. I'm not talking about being robots as well, right? Yeah. There's time to be, you know, to ad lib or to be spontaneous. But there's important times of our life where we have to have that structure of planning and performing with focus. And so these students are getting used to that now, so then it's second nature to them when they go into the business world or the medical world or whatever they choose.
Yeah. Whenever, you see, again, I said at the start, there's a lot of investment. I get at least once a week, I get a message on LinkedIn to be, hey, from a company, can we sit down or can we get a call to talk to you about... We mentioned Shark Tank before. Yeah. Like there must be a Shark Tank around the world that's just trying to break into American soccer. What's your advice for companies now outside in a real crowded landscape at the minute? What's your advice on cracking this market from a football standpoint?
Question for you: What do you say typically if someone gets in touch with you via LinkedIn?
Oh God, no, I don't do it.
Yeah, I just wrote the reason I ask, I just wrote a blog on Forbes about the power of saying no. Yeah. And it was about the dreaded and wonderful January transfer market, right? And some of the horrific signings because it's a panic and you want to say yes. It's saying no is so important. And to go back to your question, like cracking the US market, we've seen it, right, in the 20 odd years we've known each other about, you know, hey, I want to we're going to, Crystal Palace got in touch and we're going to rebrand the club Crystal Palace. Why? Yeah. Why? I mean, I think it's, one of the attractions is the vastness of it, right? What is it, 350 million people? And people may think, well, if I crack the American market, that's 350 million guaranteed customers, right? It doesn't work like that at all, right? And I don't think they've asked themselves why do we want to do this, right? So the vastness, the wealth of the country, and the willingness to pay to play that we don't have back home. I don't think I've been in that world for many years, but I still think it's not to the extent it is here, right? And so the business that you're able to accumulate from it, and everyone thinks it's easy.
Yeah.
And it's not.
It's not.
It's really not. We've seen massive failures here of people coming in with the arrogance of, well, we're name a professional team in England, so we can do this. You can't, for several reasons. One of them being there's really good local people here now. And the other's the MLS. I mean, I've got an Orlando City badge on here, right? The local MLS clubs, they're great, right? And they're doing a really great job. And, you know, the kids walking around with MLS shirts on, you know, when that summer of '99, when we were here in camps, kids were wearing Newton boys soccer, right? That was the t-shirts. Fast forward a few years, it's Premier League team, Man United, Liverpool t-shirts. Fast forward a few years, Real Madrid and Barcelona came out, and today it's MLS clubs. It's
Miami.
awesome. It is. Well, not just Miami, it's Orlando, Miami U. Local rivals, isn't it? Oh, it's mental. But that's great. I'm lucky enough to live in a city with a professional MLS club, and going to the games and those kids having those heroes, right, that they can see, is wonderful for them. And it's actually probably more accessible because some of these players are parents of the kids that play here in clubs, so they see them as everyday people as well, and super accessible. So it's the MLS has been maybe another barrier to those clubs coming over here, but it's still a fascination, right? When you look at, I just happen to look at ownerships of not just the Premier League, Championship, League One, League Two, and there is so many American firms. So my hometown, Carlisle, the Paris of the North, right, was bought last year by a family in Jacksonville.
Wow.
So it's not just it's the glorious League Two as well.
If you buy that team when I was growing up, and you were probably the same in the UK, and the chairman was basically resigned to the fact that it was going to operate at a loss for every year for as long as they owned it. But do you think now that's added maybe a little bit of pressure to coaches over here, or maybe to environments? Do you think that's impacted?
I think one of the impacts has been that mindset you just talked about. American businesses have perhaps said, losing every year, I'm going to get a bargain, right? Because losing every year, and I can just put my business philosophy in and we'll make a profit. And very quickly, that just does not happen, right? Football is a different world. You cannot do that. There is so many more moving parts, and the emotion of the fan can change everything, right? And I think one of the similarities between English football clubs or European football clubs and American sports is, I think this is true, I've heard it, I'm not too sure though, you'll have to fact check me, is American owners of, say, NFL also do not expect to make money. They make their money when they sell it. And if you look at the values of NFL franchises and baseball franchises going up and up, and the values have gone mental, right? And so they're going to make Glazers, right? Glazers bought Man United for 700 million, 800 million, and then sold 25% for over $1 billion to Jim Ratcliffe. That's their return, right? So I don't know how much money they were making or not making while they owned it exclusively, but they made their money once they sell it. I mean, the Fenway Sports Group, how much could they sell Liverpool for now?
Yeah, all those
multiple billions, right? And they bought that for 500 million, I'm guessing. Now you've got to calculate in the losses over that period, but they're going to make a return if they decide to sell.
Yeah, that piece you talked about there about how dysfunctional football is, I still fascinated. I didn't even watch United yesterday, but if there was a talk sports segment on, the real reason why Ashworth, the ownership and all that, I'm listening to that there. It's so interesting.
But isn't that why we love it? It's so unpredictable, right? If you get a NFL team playing an amateur flag football team, who's going to win 100% of the time, right?
Yeah.
However, in football, in the FA Cup, it could happen,
Anything
right?
could happen,
And it does. It's not just it could, it does happen, right? And that's why we love it.
Yeah, brilliant. All right, last couple for you. We'll finish up back on the book, the Soccer of Success. Again, looking at, I want to talk a little bit, just the last couple, about leadership and about, again, kind of as more pressure. It's easy to say it's a people business. How tough is it to manage, downwards and upwards in organisations and manage those relationships? Is there lessons from football there?
Absolutely, yeah. If you look at some of the greatest captains, right, or leaders as we call them, are different positions. I mean, I'll name a few, right? Roy Keane, Vieira, Maldini, right? Unbelievable leader. Left back, centre back.
Yeah.
Tony Adams, centre back, right? So it doesn't really matter about the position, right, you're in. It's about how you lead. And I think the leadership lessons from football is lead by example, right? It's a cliche because it's true, right? If you think about the first person to get stuck into a tackle, right, roll their sleeves up and absolutely smash someone, that's the leader, right? Now, in business you don't do that, but you do. You could be the first one to roll your sleeves up. You've got a really tough customer that's coming to see you, and it's like, I've got this, right? Let me handle this, right? And that's leadership, right? That's take them on the chin. And so there are multiple lessons from that, and also the football lessons in leadership about never giving up and perseverance and tenacity and all that is timeless, right? And it doesn't matter what league or how many years ago it is, that you can just learn those leadership lessons from watching games. And then managing up, whether it's shareholders or bosses, it is, we talked about turning up on time, right?
Yeah,
Simple, tiny little lessons, right? So if you're a Premier League player and you're constantly turning up late for training, well, you're going to have an interest in January, right? Because you're going to be on the transfer market. Setting expectations, right? So you could have a boss and is giving you a sales target and say, hey, you give me a sales target, but I think we're overreaching here. I think this should be my expectation, and I'll nail this, and I'll do this, and I'll keep going. So setting expectations up the chain as well, because a coach would do that to an ownership, right? To the chairman that's losing £1 million a season, saying, hey, we're not going to win the league here because you haven't given me the right amount of money, or we don't have the right players, but I think we can do this. I think we can win most of our games at home and half the games away. So setting those expectations correctly up the chain is super important.
Hello coaches, we'll take our second and final break here. Thank you so much for everyone that has liked and subscribed. We're almost at 50,000 subscribers on YouTube. They're halfway there to what the ultimate goal is, which is 100,000 subscribers. We couldn't do it without your help. We couldn't do it without your support. So thank you so much every time you like the videos, every time you share the videos, every time you comment on the videos. It goes a long way in promoting them to the soccer audience and getting them out. So if you're listening to an interview that you really enjoy, please feel free to give it a like and share it with your coaching community. It goes a long way. Final thing, if you are looking for some new coaching content, some new ideas, please check out modernsoccercoach.com. We have some new content over there. We've recently done a back three webinar with Bernat Mosquera. Phenomenal response to that. You can get the replay on the link below. We also have new ebooks. We've got the webinar as well on AI in the game with Hugo Vicente. A few people have reached out about that there as well. So thank you so much for everything you do and all the support. Back to Kieran.
And then the resilience piece, again, I've kind of talked a little bit about that before, but I want to go back to that because I want my kid now to kind of experience in a world where resilience is not...
It's a currency, right?
It is massive.
Yeah.
But in today, and I find it with my own 9-year-old, and reading stuff and listening to stuff about parenting today, you're almost trying to solve the problems for them,
right?
Or worse, avoid problems.
Yep.
I suppose it's not as natural as what those situations aren't as natural as what they were for us to learn. How do we teach it for the next generation?
And sport is everything, right? That's why sport's so important, I think, for children and development. And any sport, it doesn't have to be football, because learning to deal with defeat is as important as how you carry yourself when you win. And if you're in sport, you're guaranteed to lose at some point, right?
Yeah.
The best team in the world has not won every single game. So how do you deal with that, and how do you observe that, and how do you teach a child to lose okay? Because you have the opposite side. You don't want a child to be, oh, fine, we lost, right?
Yeah.
It's okay that they're upset, right? And we see that here, and we have a World Cup competition every Friday here. There is tears every single Friday, without a doubt, right?
Yeah.
And we love that, right? And kids running to their parents in tears. Now, we were talking before about managing up the chain.
Yeah.
We've said to the parents, we have set expectations. By the way, just so you know, there'll be tears today. There will be tears, and that's good. That's good because they care about the game. It's going to be a tough game. It'll be close. Someone's going to miss a penalty if it goes to penalties. If that's your kid and comes tearing, that's all right. It means he or she volunteered to come up and take that penalty. So be okay if your kid is crying, versus you don't set that expectation. Kid runs to the parent crying, oh my God, what's up, what? Right? So it's managing up the chain, which is an interesting link to what we talked about before. But that resilience is and never giving up, and I think that is great in sport, and also great watching them watch live games, right? To show that I have a part in the book about, do you remember when Newcastle went 4-0 down against Arsenal?
Yeah, I do actually.
Yeah, half time, fans
TOT,
leaving, right?
Yeah.
If you're a footy fan, I don't think I'm spoiling this.
Yeah. They're all going to YouTube.
But it'd be a terrible story had they not come back. Right, so
4-1.
4-1, never gets fired. 4-4, what a game.
Yeah.
What a game, right? And that is that never, ever giving up attitude. Sir Alex Ferguson was the best at that, right?
I was going to say, the best one of all time, biased point of view, United v Tottenham. Do you remember that?
3-0 down at half time. It's in there.
Yeah. Is it in there?
Yeah. Because his speech apparently is unbelievable. He walks in the dressing room, silent, doesn't say anything, right? A minute, and as he's more and more silent, the players are shitting themselves, right? Because he's going to go mental, right? And then with a minute to go, he stands up and he just says, Man United win 4-3.
Wow.
And walked out.
Wow. I didn't know that.
He was wrong, it was 5-3. What a rubbish manager.
There's a goal. There's 2 goals in that. Varane scored.
Bottom corner.
Beckham.
Brilliant.
Sweet, isn't it?
Yeah, and that is like, we remember that, and it was years ago, right? And it ignites our passion, and the lessons that are learned from that, you know, of you're having a bad week at work, right? And it's Wednesday, and you think, do you know what? It's Wednesday. It's only half time. I've got this, right? I can change this round. I can do this, you know. And then that talks like that for young children at half time can be taught into those lessons of, hey, you're having a bad week, it's okay. Remember half time of that game, and you came back and you carried on, and anything's possible. That the game is just such a great teacher.
You said there about the guys you have working here and the great staff you have, and a lot of Premier League experience and a lot of international experience, but you said it keeps coming back, the resilience mentality that the guys talk about. That's their big takeaway from their career.
It's everything. They talk about that. I am the worst player and coach on staff, just as a disclaimer, right, by a country mile. Between all of us, we've got loads of Premier League appearances, right?
A couple of championships in there.
I think on average I've played in the Premier League 20 times. You just take the maths on the average. They talk about, and it's interesting because I'm fascinated talking to these guys that played such a high level, and they talk about like talent gets you to a certain part of your career. After that, it's just all mentality. And my friend who was at Man City's academy said the same thing. They said that talent gets them to U16, and from then on, it's just the mental game. Everything is about the mentality part of it. So, you know, we can educate kids and teach kids to be okay with losing, and as long as you're resilient and keep going. Even if at 18 they decide they don't want to play soccer anymore, certainly not as a career. Any walk of life they go into, they're going to take those lessons with them, right? And still have a passion for soccer, hopefully, but they'll know how to never give up. They'll know how to plan their day. They'll know how to be focused and be a good parent. So it's not just the business side of it, but the personal side of it. Know how to be a good spouse, right? All that stuff can be learned by being a fan of the game. Not even studying the game, but just being a fan of the game, right?
Yeah, so interesting. The piece on the resilience, and that the amount of setbacks it would take you to get to a Premier League footballer, which is the smallest ever percent, probably have 50 times where they're down and out.
Yeah, Gary talks about it. Gary Teal, he said he was, I think he turned professional when he was 16. He said didn't make the under-16 Scottish national team, devastated. Didn't make the 18s, devastated, kept going. Didn't make U21, devastated, kept going, made the first team.
Yeah.
You know, and he talks about if it wasn't for those setbacks, maybe he wouldn't have been the player and had the career that he'd had.
But I think we're also losing today. We're losing the fact that you need someone alongside you to say, listen, keep going. Because that's,
or a book.
Yeah. Knock it on the head.
Yeah, exactly. It's and sometimes what's really useful is if that person is inside your head, right? It's yourself giving yourself that pep, because you can capture that person anytime you want. You can ask that person questions anytime you want, and have that pep talk. You know, have a coach inside your head that is like, keep going. Remember that time? Keep going.
I think I've said that on a couple of recent podcasts about coach development. I think coaches are moving towards where there's so much information, and information comes with expectation, because you're thinking, okay, I've got all pep sessions, I roll this out and I'm beating everyone here. I know how that goes. So when it doesn't go right, you almost need, alongside the information, you need some support around, again, experience, or someone to help you guide alongside the information. I wonder if business like that as well. Do you think business CEOs, CFOs?
Yeah, it's it's typical for CEOs to have mentors.
Yeah.
I did when I was CEO.
Did you?
Yeah, it was amazing. And having a mentors are great, especially when you're CEO and a co-founder like I was. Me and Chris had our own business. So we're the only two people who can moan at. You can't moan down, right? Spouses don't hear it. Yeah. So it was good to get mentors to have those conversations with a totally different, sometimes industry, right? And you can have conversations like we had this morning. And what it also teaches you as well is don't be afraid to ask. Like, because you see these people above here, like, oh, they're going to be, I'm embarrassed to ask them to be my mentor. 100% of the time I've asked someone, they've been, not just said yes, but been flattered by it. So don't be afraid to go and ask someone that you think may be out of your reach, to say, hey, do you want to be my mentor? Yeah. And that doesn't have to be CEOs, that can be anyone, right? And that is also always great advice from a third party that you can call on. And typically what you find is, as you get to know the mentor as well, they'll also do some favours because you're part of their team now, right? And so that's a bit of advice I would give to anyone is try and find a few mentors for yourself.
Brilliant.
Part of your coaching team, your internal coaching team.
Yeah, no, I think it's huge. Plus it's that, the support, because it's a tough job. Leadership's tough.
Yeah. There's also great books out there, right? Yeah. It's like, there's this Successful People Leave Clues. It's called a book, right? And amazing people have written some amazing books, and within it some fantastic lessons. Not even recent. When you read a book, there's this the book written in the 70s called, I can't remember what it's called now, it was that good. I'll text it to you. It reads like it was written today. All the lessons are just so relevant. Yeah. And Napoleon Hill has written timeless books with timeless lessons. I've started reading right now Carnegie's one, and same thing. Just great timeless lessons books are just great teachers.
The last one for you, keynote speaking. You were talking about doing the Forbes, and doing the 2-day intensive course. What did you learn in that you thought, God, I wish I had known that when I was coaching? That might have helped in a changing room or a pre-game.
Great question. By the way, one of the things that you taught is to say great question. Like, flatter the audience. Yeah. So see what I did?
Got me.
Flatter the audience. But you can't say it to everyone. So,
just before you answer that, is there loads of wee tricks like that? Is there?
Yeah. The thing.
Could you write them all down?
Before I answer your question, another thing that I learned the most about that 2-day course is how little I know. I thought I was pretty good. I am rubbish.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm spending the next year crafting that, because it's a long process, right?
Sorry, context. 2-day intensive public speaking.
Keynote speaking. Yeah, keynote speaking, and the business of keynote speaking as well. And so the one piece that I would give advice to coaches for is, they call it a beat. What that means is the pause, right? So, and what I mean by that is, see what I did there? Take a pause. When you're trying to give a coaching point to a team, to an individual, if you just pause at the right moment, the listening ears come on and they'll take it in. Again, you can't do it all the time, but if you say just a very important point you want to get across, in the middle of the sentence you take that pause, it will be received better.
That's really good, that.
There you go.
Little nuggets like that the whole time.
I've just condensed 2 days into 10 seconds for you.
I mean, what about the start? That's what I want to. Just one more question. What type of, like, the energy that they're saying that you come at these things with? Is it like, do you have to go into again? You talked about performing. Do you have to be a performer and do that, or can you be authentic to your personality?
Yeah, so it is a performance.
Yeah.
But every performance doesn't have to be Tony Robbins, blah, 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 blah. It's about being authentic, right? And authentic can be, and you know me, right? I'm a bit hyperactive, right? That's my authenticity, but so is sitting down and talking quietly, right? So yeah, it doesn't have to be a over-the-top, high-energy performance to get the point across, because then it should be like this, right? Depending on what you're trying to do. So it's being authentic to yourself. You can be a slow, quiet, reserved person and still deliver an unbelievable keynote speech that relative to the audience, right? Because everyone who goes to Tony Robbins wants that upbeat. You know, if he came on, I've never. Have you done it?
Yeah.
Is it good?
Unbelievable.
Really?
Unbelievable. I don't want him and Vaynerchuk, Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yeah, I've heard of him. Yeah.
Yeah, but Robbins is just. He's electric, yeah.
Right.
Everywhere he walks the room, goes through it, and then it's just a current of electricity everywhere. It's amazing. Yeah.
It's amazing that he can connect to that many people, right, simultaneously. Fair play.
I'm going like, he's not going to get me. He's not going to give me 5 minutes. Like that. I want to come back tomorrow.
Here's my credit card. I'm not paying for. Here it is.
Yeah. Brilliant. Okay. Soccer of Success. Talk about where they can get a copy.
You can get a copy anywhere they sell books. It's on Amazon right now. You can get it at Barnes & Nobles. You can get it on anywhere that sell books. You can buy that.
It's absolutely quality. Massive congrats. Forbes books. You said, I've got to drop this in, you said that the feedback was good already on Forbes, the pre-sale numbers?
#1 pre-selling author with Forbes right now. That's on pre-order.
Massive. And you're also doing the articles on LinkedIn with Forbes as well?
Yeah, so doing one a month through 2025.
Brilliant. Kieran, top class.
Brilliant, mate.
Thank you so much. Thanks for coming on, and we're going to tell everyone to get a copy of this right away. We'll do it again.
If you're ever in Orlando, Florida, want it signed, I'm here every day.
Brilliant.